All right, welcome to Frontline, 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. Finally Friday, but the COVID cover-up is back under the microscope. On her final day as DNI, Tulsi Gabbard declassifying documents she says ties Fauci to dangerous gain-of-function research and the alleged COVID cover-up. But if this information was sitting here all along, why did she do it on her last day? Trump's incoming acting DNI, Bill Pulte, reportedly showing up at a new job a day early, demanding a list of about 300 candidates to be fired in the coming weeks. New boss, new rules, hopefully less deep state. Plus, Trump promised peace through strength and against all odds got Iran to the table, but now the U.S. intelligence warns that Israel may actually undermine the deal before the ink is even dry. Greatest ally, huh? Yeah, I guess making peace is one thing, but getting everyone to accept it is another. We're going to have more on this in just a bit. And the new Air Force One has been delayed so long, some Americans probably thought it was just another California high-speed rail project. But after years of delay, finally being unveiled, the bridge aircraft decked out in Trump's signature red, white, and blue because America and stuff. But first, so much fraud that I'm sure you forgot about some of it when the next batch pops up. But not here. We're bringing you a summary with the new stuff and a quick reminder of all the old stuff so you don't forget before the next election. Let's do this. There is so much fraud that we actually decided that we're going to just keep track of all of it for you because, we wouldn't want you to forget how mad you should be at the government for not only allowing this to happen in the first place, but also how much Democrats still don't want to address it. So we're going to get you caught up on all the new stuff and then remind you what has already happened. Welcome to the Grift Report. I actually really like that graphic right there. Okay, look, I love how the same people that want to tax millionaires and billionaires and now 1 trillionaire are the same people who refuse to investigate any type of fraud in their jurisdictions. First off, the fact that we have enough fraud in this country for me to make this a franchisable segment is real bad. Let's start with the broad problem, illegal immigration. You know it's bad, I know it's bad, we all knew it was bad. But this time it just came from the Assistant Attorney General, Colin McDonald.
Illegal immigration carries real and substantial costs to American taxpayers and places enormous strain on our public benefits systems. And the further we look, the more fraud we find.
No way! You mean the people who broke the law to get here would possibly break more laws? I mean, that's not possible. Right? But look, this is what they're stealing. This is exactly what we have been saying is happening while the people governing the states that this is happening in swear it's not happening.
We are announcing charges against 15 defendants alleged to have stolen taxpayer-funded benefits here in Massachusetts. These cases involve stolen benefits ranging from $4,000 to over $500,000. The programs exploited involve food assistance under SNAP, Medicaid benefits administered by Mass Health, housing benefits, Social Security disability payments, and more.
Yeah, he went actually on to say that 11 of the 15 charged were illegal aliens. Let's not forget, too, the cost increases this put on the average homeowners. I'm going to talk about this in a bit, but there is data to show that the cost of living has, with all these illegals pumping in from the southern border, Biden just basically rapidly dumped these people into our country. That drove housing up by 30%. I mean, it's like a simple supply and demand. More people to house, same number of houses, price goes up. And I know what you're thinking. How does all this stuff get budgeted? I'm glad you asked. This is how it happens. Someone puts it in there. And there's no oversight. And the people who vote on this rarely read the bill. Probably, actually, most of them don't even read the bill. Here is the most recent example in Illinois. Here, this is one that passed both the State House and the State Senate in Illinois. $500 billion, yes, you read that right, $500 billion, to the Chicago West Side branch NAACP for operating expenses in a grant from the Department of Human Services. Look at that number. That is the amount that was, quote, incorrectly put in the Illinois state budget that passed the House and the Senate at 4 a.m. on June 1st. Nobody caught it. Just for clarity, that typo, they're claiming it's a typo, obviously. That is 10 times the state's entire budget, and someone screwed that up? That's not like moving the decimal place. That's way off. What would they have done if this had actually gotten to Pritzker's desk? Pritzker's office is the one who caught it, by the way, which I'd never give him credit for anything, except for the volume he consumes at the all-you-can-eat buffet. But what it also shows is the local NAACP chapter is a line item in the government budget. They're getting money from you, the taxpayer. Why? But this is Democrats. Minnesota is still defending that there is no fraud. Then, when they get caught, dead to rights by the FBI, Tim Walz, by the way, who was polling it, is in the toilet. I think he's at 39%. It's an all-time low. Comes out in front of the Mogadishu, Minnesota new flag that he put in there to pander to these people, and he acts like he was the one cracking down on it.
You're seeing a weaponization. We'll continue to fix it. They're going to continue to come up with numbers that don't have it there, and it's sensationalized. I don't expect anything different from this administration. But the thing that I think that folks need to recognize, and I think they do, as governor of Minnesota, I'm working on the healthcare side of things.
No, you're not. You did nothing here. It was exposed by a kid in a sweatshirt after your office not only denied that, but refused to address multiple internal complaints. Oh, right, and on cue, look at this. Minnesota officials are wondering how the woman behind Feeding Our Future, Amy Bach, was busted for fraud, but her competitor, Kara Lohman, of Partners in Nutrition, another grift, was ignored despite $100 million in fraudulent proceeds. $100 million. You know what I could do with that money? I would throw the most gangster party ever. No wonder why Minnesotans trust Republicans more to deal with fraud, according to another new poll. California literally has more people in hospice care programs than are people that could actually physically die. 1/3 of the nation's hospice has popped up in LA alone. At this point, we've had hundreds of arrests for things like these. And the libs keep saying, well, it's not happening. It is happening. And yet, here they are saying they need more money. They want to take more money from the people who already shoulder most of the tax burdens in this nation, like Elon, who honestly pays more in taxes than some countries' entire GDPs.
What would $1 trillion pay for? Well, $1 trillion, if we decided to distribute that equally among American households, your household would get $7,500. Every household in America could get $7,500 from that $1 trillion.
But did those households help catch rockets with giant chopsticks? No. And if you took all that money, you'd crush one of the most innovative companies in the world. So no, just because someone has or earned that money doesn't mean everyone else is entitled to it. Unbelievable. And I don't want to hear the same people who put us $40 trillion in debt, by the way, still giving $40 million a week to the Taliban, and God knows what else they light our money in fire for. Talk about taxing people and taking more money from rich people. Unlike Democrats, Republicans, namely the Trump administration, are tackling actual fraud and protecting the taxpayer dollars. Just before this show, the DOJ announced the capture of a most wanted fraudster. But the bigger question is, what does it take to get Democrats to vote against their own party because of these fraud schemes? They're stealing money from them, too. How much fraud is it going to take in places like Illinois, California, or wherever, Minnesota, to get Democrats to break from their blind party allegiance and vote for something different? Is it a $5,000 increase on their taxes? Is it $10,000? What's the breaking point to start changing votes? Or, which really worries me, are there enough people in on the grift that are actually getting paid to keep electing these politicians that keep the money flow on? Minnesota State Rep Kristin Robbins, look, this is started in your state, or at least we figured it out in your state first. What is the breaking point to get people to vote for Republicans?
Well, I think Minnesotans are definitely there. Minnesotans are so fed up with all of the fraud and their taxes constantly going up. So I think we are going to see Republicans win in Minnesota this year. And the numbers in the recent poll show it. Tim Walz is at an all-time low. Only 39% approve of his work as governor. And I don't even know who those people are. Nobody I've talked to across the state supports Tim Walz. So I think we have a lot of work to do, but I think we have to keep the pressure on, and we have to stop the fraud. People are sick of it. They work hard for their money, and they want us to stop it.
I mean, look, if the polls are anything, a solid majority, according to this poll, of Minnesotans say that they're very concerned about fraud in state programs, and voters now trust Republicans more than Democrats. Will it translate to Election Day, though?
Absolutely. I think it will. Minnesotans are fed up. They work hard for their money. They see that going down a rat hole of fraud where people are using their tax dollars to buy a resort in Kenya, an apartment building in Nairobi, luxury homes and cars here in the U.S., fancy vacations. They're not doing those things this summer, and they're just trying to afford their family's life and, you know, soccer and all the things families want to do this summer. So I think it will translate into votes, and I really hope that people show up at the polls. In Minnesota, by the way, early voting in the primary started. It starts on Monday, so we've got to get our people out to the polls.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, State Rep Kristin Robbins, we appreciate it very much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, let's zoom out a little bit and go national. Chairman of the RNC, Joe Gruters. Joe, this should be the #1 issue that Republicans are running on. If you elect me, I'll make sure we're not stealing too much more of your money.
Well, you got that right, and I'm so thankful that President Trump put the vice president in charge, and they're moving forward. I mean, Ellison and Walz have been asleep at the wheel. They're responsible. They allowed this to happen in Minnesota. The vice president's on this all over the country, and they're getting to the bottom of it. Because, yes, if you're struggling to make ends meet and all this fraud exists and they're getting free money, it should upset everybody.
Yeah, no, it pisses me off, I know. But roughly, this is another one, roughly 20 FBI agents reportedly moved in on Skid Row, all right, known for its homeless population, drug addicts, and all this stuff. Multiple homeless people have now alleged that they were paid money to fill out voter registration forms and provide voter information and even forge signatures. What is going on here?
Well, that's why they never let us have access to the voter files. That's why we've requested them. That's why we've sued in some places. Illegal aliens should not have a chance to vote, whether they're homeless or not. But listen, fraud is a big issue, but this is the issue that we're focused on. We have 150 lawsuits. We're trying to crack down, bring the hammer everywhere we can to make sure we stop this type of cheating.
Yeah, but this is crazy to me, Joe. Like, the Save America Act is ready to pass the Senate. Donald Trump has said, I'm not signing anything else till this comes out. What the hell is John Thune doing?
You know, I don't know what he's doing, but I know that we have some MAGA warriors in waiting. We're going to have 4 or 5 new great conservative senators, and I'm sure that we'll be able to get it done. But that's why we need to win the midterms. It's going to come down to a vote or two. We have like I said, an incredible crop of candidates. We got our favorable matchups in a lot of these races. Look at Plattner disaster, Michigan, El Sayed, Talafrico. Goes on and on and on. I expect big things from the Senate, but new crop of MAGA warriors are coming. We're going to pass the Save America Act. We're going to end the filibuster. We're going to do a lot of great things. Yeah,
I mean, I sure hope so. This is the thing, though, is you've got people like John Thune holding this up in the Senate. Have you? I don't know. Have you had any discussions with this and been like, Guy, you're like really hurting us because you say it's going to come down to 1 or 2 votes. Realistically, like, there's a lot of people, if that Save America Act gets passed, unfortunately, it throws shade on all the good work you're doing and the good work Donald Trump is doing. Have you told these guys, dude, pass this thing?
You're exactly right. And yes, we're 100% behind the president and his efforts to pass the Save America Act. We've met with senators. I've actually been with the VP and talking to senators about this issue. And listen, they need to act. There's no reason why they can't act. 84% of Americans support this. This is basic, common sense, reasonable. When the president asked me to take this job, one of the top priorities was make sure that elections are safe and secure and fair, and we're trying to do the best job we can. We can use a little help from Senator Thune, but I know these new MAGA warriors will make it happen come January of next year.
Yeah, I hope he gets pushed into retirement at his next primary, too. Joe, we appreciate it very much. Keep up the good work.
Thanks so much.
All right, coming up, why can't Americans afford homes anymore? Well, one hidden cost that exploded over the last few years, and it may shock you. I'll break it down for you in just a bit. But first, a major diplomatic curveball at the White House confirms a new record of U.S.-Iran negotiations scheduled to take place in Switzerland today has been postponed. Why? Deets next.
A Social Security update. Millions collect Social Security, but 70% of Americans don't get their full benefits. Now, a new report shows how to boost your Social Security by as much as $188,000. Author Matthew Allen reveals 5 key strategies in a new report. Newsmax calls it the best guide for retirees. Everyone needs this free Social Security report. Act today to get your full benefits.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
Go ahead. Crank the volume. We got you. USPS has increased daily package processing capacity by 46% in the past 5 years. And with USPS Ground Advantage, your packages stay in our secure network, dock to door, nationwide. For full visibility, near real-time tracking, affordable pricing, for peace of mind. USPS Ground Advantage.
Is the president's deal with Iran already collapsing? The White House announcing Vice President J.D. Vance will not be headed to Switzerland this weekend for planned talks with Iran. Now, those negotiations now on hold because Israel and Hezbollah have been exchanging fire in Lebanon. As we told you in the opening, it's undermining Trump's peace agreement, threatening to derail the memorandum of understanding President Trump hailed as a breakthrough and the Iranians seem to be on board with just a few days ago. Now, a senior U.S. official has now said that the ceasefire between the two, Lebanon and Israel, is back on, but will it last? U.S. combat veteran Teddy Daniels and fellow team guy Mike Sarraille. All right, Mike, I mean, like, it just seems we're so close, and those two guys got to go bomb each other.
Yeah, they're the kill switches that's in this entire negotiation. So while the nuclear negotiations may be going on in Switzerland, the kill switch or the tripwires in southern Lebanon. Ultimately, Iran needs to be held accountable to get their lackeys under control. But here's the other thing as well. Israel needs to realize that their only and indispensable ally is asking them to show some restraint. So show some restraint and keep the eye on the strategic goal. Not every lob of missiles or drones requires a response. In this instance, they took the life of 4 IDF members. Absolutely smash them. But at the end of the day, Iran has to get Hezbollah to stop attacking and get to the deal that is beneficial for both sides of the house.
But Teddy, those 4 IDF soldiers were in Lebanon. So, like, how do you parse the difference?
Brother, I got to tell you this. It's like we are this close to preventing Iran from having nuclear weapons. And right now, it appears Israel could screw that up for us. Okay, I understand that they are our biggest ally in the Middle East, but we need to keep that under control, brother. We can't have them kicking the dog when we are this close to the peace deal being done.
Yeah, no, I can't agree with that more. And J.D. Vance laid that out yesterday. It was like, come on, guys. But according to reports, Mike, U.S. intelligence agencies have warned the Trump administration that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu likely to take steps that could continue to undermine this effort. I mean, this is our own intelligence community. I thought we were buds, but apparently not.
You know, we are pro-Israel. And we're mainly pro-Israel for one reason, because we're anti-Islamic terrorism.
Yeah, we should all be against
that. We are their only major ally. He needs to realize that. I'm sure there's harsh conversations going on with Israel. We know they don't like this deal. The only outcome for them was the total decimation or eradication of the IRGC. I agree with that. But we've got to deal with the reality that's in front of us, not the conditions we wish we had. Now, ultimately, Trump is not chasing this deal. He's going to get it across the goal line if he can keep these parties in check. He is rebuilding the Middle East.
Yeah.
And Israel doesn't realize that if we have an Abraham's Accord 2.0 on top of this deal, he has built a better economic architecture as well as economically viable and secure architecture for Israel and our Gulf partner states.
Yeah. But Teddy, let's zoom out. I don't really care much about the Middle East. As long as they don't have a nuclear weapon that they can reach us with, fine. They can just do whatever they want in their own little tribal warfare over there. But we did just get 700 ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Oil has crashed. I mean, it's like $70 a barrel right now. We are moving in the right direction, and the world is producing 7 million more barrels of oil than it was before this conflict.
It is. And the Strait of Hormuz is open. And I'll tell you what, on a political standpoint of this is going to be huge for the Republicans in the midterms. Because I can tell you right now, while all this was going on, there were a lot of Republicans talking about, I'm sitting this one out because I can't afford to put gas in my car. This is big, not just for America, but for the Republican Party. Okay, it's open. Let's keep those prices down. And the negotiations with Iran, they're running in 30 to 60 day increments. So there's a lot that can continue to happen as this evolves.
Yeah. And look, I've been a proponent from day one. Call me crazy, call me whatever you want. They want a nuclear weapon. At some point, we might give it to them. Teddy, Mike, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, you might not have cared about the mayor race in Palm Beach, Florida, but wait until you see who's running. Looks kind of familiar, right? Viral sensation Palm Beach Pete going to join me next.
Survey says... Celebrating 50 years of the Family Feud, Richard Karn and John O'Hurley share their favorite moments as hosts. America, right now. Tomorrow morning at 9. Only on Newsmax.
Honey, Mortgage Money 6 says we should keep renting.
Mortgage Money 6?
Reba says more realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. They track every market so you know when to make your move.
He also says that Bigfoot... Got it.
Make it real with Realtor.com.
Ever wished you could brew your own beer, but figured it was too complicated, too messy, too much effort? Well, now you can. Meet Pinter, the home beer system everyone's talking about. Fresh beer, brewed and tapped by you. No fuss, no guesswork. Just brew, chill, tap, done. And this summer of soccer, bring Matchday home with the limited edition USA Pinter. Keep fresh beer on tap for every big moment. Host the ultimate watch party and bring the stadium atmosphere home all tournament long. Fresh beer on tap for every big match. You don't need a sports bar for the ultimate summer of soccer, just a Pinter. Right now, get your limited edition Pinter free with our flexible beer plan and save $264. Tap into the world's best beer experience. Free Pinter. Freshly brewed beer. Zero fuss. Go to pinter.com/USA to claim your offer today.
This smart home is going to the Hoyan family so they can live an independent life with their catastrophic injuries.
The whole house is just set up in a perfect way. All of the normal complications of being in a chair. This place is a huge load off for that. The things that Tunnel to Towers Foundation has done is just a lot more than you would ever expect to get in your entire life.
Join us in supporting our nation's heroes and their families. It only takes $11 a month. Go to T2T.org now.
Nobody knows Corvettes like McMulkin Chevrolet, the world's largest Corvette dealer for 5 consecutive years. Set apart by its name alone, Corvette delivers a legacy of American craftsmanship, and a vehicle that sets the bar for performance cars deserves a buying experience that beats it. With hundreds of Corvettes in stock and ready for immediate delivery nationwide, it's no wonder Corvette enthusiasts from across the USA keep coming back to McMulkin Chevrolet.
It's me, Ricky. You know me. You grew up with me. I'm 56 and a half years of age. I am using this right here, Fatty 15, to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient in Fatty 15 has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. And it is a game changer for your overall vitality. I urge you to try Fatty 15. Give your cells what they need and give yourself a chance with more time.
The human brain is truly incredible. It's a complex network of 100 billion neurons that create cognitive functions surpassing that of supercomputers. Our brain controls our thoughts, our emotions, and our movements. Prevagen contains apoaquarin, originally discovered in jellyfish, and is designed specifically for the brain to help keep it amazing, so that we can continue to live our best life. Prevagen, for your brain.
Who cares about a mayoral election in Palm Beach, right? Well, rarely it doesn't really actually ever make headlines, but this year it's different. Why? Because Peter Sarraille is running for the position in 2028. And if you don't know who he is, he's better known online as Palm Beach Pete, the Florida man who has gone absolutely viral on social media for being a doppelganger for Jeffrey Epstein. So much so that his TikTok handle is not Jeffrey Epstein, but his resemblance leaves a lot of questions. Let's find out, shall we? Palm Beach Pete is running for mayor in Palm Beach. All right, sir, are you Jeffrey Epstein?
Absolutely not. I'm Palm Beach Pete, living my life. And Carl, thank you for having me on the show. Much appreciated.
No, I appreciate it. It's just like, dude, you look exactly like him. I mean, like, how do you drive around Palm Beach and not just lose your mind?
Okay, I don't think I look exactly like him, but I think I have a very strong resemblance. And I drive around. I was aware of the fact that I did look like him before he was in jail and when he was living in New York. I looked like him.
Yeah.
But I drive around, and my feedback is people just are so nice and friendly. We love your content, Palm Beach Pete. Keep it going. We think you're terrific. So it's good.
Okay.
I embrace the Palm Beach Pete.
It is. I mean, it is really funny. When I was like, we got to get this guy on. All right. So some of the things. Now, I'm like, and I'm not trying to make a mockery of your campaign, but you've done some things that are clearly for fun and some things that are clearly serious. Some of the things you've done, you're saying free Botox for everyone, a water pipeline. By the way, I support this one. A water pipeline from New York, because the quality of the dough in the pizza in New York is because of the water. All right, so you want the water pipeline. You're talking about free convertibles. How are you going to pay for this stuff, man?
Well, figure it out. I have a great team behind me. And Miami gets all the notoriety as the cool, hip place. We want to make Palm Beach young and cool and have people come down. Look what's happening in West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
It's incredible. All the financial service firms are moving there. All the young, smart kids are moving down there. The talent's moving down there. So let Palm Beach get some notoriety as well, too. Not that it doesn't, but we could get it some more.
But like when you say like free Botox for all, like you're obviously kidding, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to clear that up. But
Carl, if I wasn't kidding, they'd be running to the doctors for that free Botox in a New York minute.
Yeah, well, all the jobs that have been brought to Florida, people can pay for it down there. All right, so this is just so funny to me. Where can people go to find out about your campaign?
On my website, not.Jeff Epstein, and then you could drop down, you could buy merchandise, such as a hat like this, Palm Beach Pete. It's really fun. I'm having the best time. Can I give you a quick 2-second story?
Yeah, you got about 30 seconds.
Okay, how many times does a retired 71-year-old guy get to make super cool content, hang out with the best influencers, have fun with it, and make a little money?
Yeah,
it's a third career.
Yeah, and to be honest, man, people have run on like crazier things than pipelines from New York for the water for pizza dough. So, you know what?
Yeah,
I love it, man. I love it. Palm Beach Pete, we appreciate you joining us, sir.
Peace out, Palm Beach Pete. Thanks, Carl.
All right.
We are not the police, and we've taken over this home. I have a lease for this property. Who are you?
This is my dad's house.
This is not your dad's house. This is my house. You're a squatter, and I have a lease for this house. You need to vacate this house because this house is mine.
My dad has lived here for a long time.
So your dad passed away about 9 months ago? All right, and have you been living here since then?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been a squatter in this residence since 9 months ago.
That was a scene from the show Squatters, where activists work with homeowners to remove their home's unwanted squatters, because there's some states that somehow allow this. They pursue an unconventional mix of like legal strategies, consultation, and even direct intervention like that. These squatter hunters have helped dozens of homeowners reclaim their properties without the law or anything else getting in the way. The man behind the show, anti-squatting activist Flash Shelton. Flash, I saw this on Instagram. I was like, yes, because I've watched too many people have their houses literally stolen from them.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's crazy that I even have to do this. But, you know, it happened to my mom, and I had to be a good son and out squat my squatters. And I figured if they could take a house, I could take a house.
How many times, like I see you go in there, you got your body cameras on and stuff like that. Has anybody ever gotten violent with you?
You know, I mean, it gets put down so quickly. You know, we do a lot of preparation, knowing who we're dealing with. You know, but there have been some occasions where somebody has like pulled a weapon or tried, and I've had to physically restrain someone, and my partner grabs the weapon out of their hand or whatever. But for the most part, it's, you know, I feel like it's my job to de-escalate it and do it safely.
Yeah, well, I saw one of your episodes that you were like, hey, do you have a lease? He was like, yeah. And he runs up to his room, slams the door in your face, comes up with some bogus thing that he made on a Google Doc in 7 seconds and hands it back to you. And you're like, oh, even better. Congratulations. You're going to jail for forging documents.
Yeah, you know, it was funny because there were 2 management companies, almost like he took something that he had already made previously and changed it real quick, but forgot to take off the second one.
That's so crazy. Yeah, but in 30 states are considering some sort of legislation. I just don't understand how we got to a place in America with the Fourth Amendment where someone can just walk in and stay there and have no legal method to have cops haul them out of there.
Yeah, you know, the problem is, you know, with there being a very, like, there's not a hard line between squatters and tenants. So the squatters just figured out how they could use those loopholes, become a tenant, therefore taking tenant rights undeservingly, and most of the time without paying any rent at all.
But even if it's like, then there's also some laws out there, some states, where if you occupy an area for long enough, it's like 7 years in some places, that actually becomes legally your property.
Yeah, I mean, it's 7 to 10, and there's some states are even up to 20 years. You know, but they have to file paperwork. It has to be uncontested.
Yeah.
They have to pay property taxes, and they have to do improvements to the property or land.
Yeah, a lot of these people don't strike me as they're doing that. So your new show drops every Tuesday on A&E. You got any teasers for us? Any good ones coming up?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's every episode is different. Every situation's different. And, you know, you're gonna learn not only, you know, this is for awareness, but also people are going to learn, you know, how to prevent squatters also by doing this. So, you know, I'm happy to be a part of all of these law changes, and I still have a lot more work to do.
Yeah, someone squats in my house, they're never going to find the body, but you do it in a very nice way, sir. Flash, we appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, coming up, Obama's $850 million presidential concrete bucket just opened in Chicago, and it's a leftist megachurch complete with elite Hollywood freak shows. All that and more in our Culture Clash.
This little light of mine has been dark for quite some time. Then I let in the light to help see more of the light inside of me.
I needed more from my antidepressant, so my doctor added Caplyta, proven to provide greater relief from depression symptoms than an antidepressant alone, building on my progress without starting over. Weight gain and reported sexual side effects were not common.
Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Caplyta is not approved for dementia-related psychosis. Call your doctor about new or sudden mood changes, behaviors, or suicidal thoughts right away. Antidepressants may increase these risks. Report fever, confusion, stiff muscles, which may be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal. Common side effects are sleepiness, dizziness, nausea, dry mouth, feeling tired, and diarrhea. These aren't all the side effects.
Ask your doctor about Caplyta. Caplita.
Help see more of the light inside of me.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. This frame is an 8-base wrap, so it's going to sit close to your face, give you wide peripheral vision, stay on tight, but it also has a squared off lens for a versatile everyday look. And then you have comfort fit adjustable rubber nose pads for secure fit as well. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at shadyrays.com.
Steak is for dads, grill dads, tongue-snapping dads, united by their love of steak. His perfect gift is waiting, plus 8 free burgers. Get it in time for Father's Day at omahasteaks.com.
Forget the warm-up. DirecTV got hot. They're on fire with more MLB games than anyone. Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
How old are you?
11.
Your mouthwash routine just got a whole lot smarter. Use Smart Mouth Activated Morning Mouthwash with B12 for all-day bad breath prevention. Guaranteed. If your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. Kickstart your morning. Get Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash with B12.
Dad is a legend. Who can we thank for that? There were generations of dads who passed down their legacies. Discover who they were and how they led to you with an Ancestry Family History membership. See your roots and where those stories came from with an Ancestry DNA kit. Put them together, and there you are. Give thanks to Dad during our Father's Day sale.
The perfect gifts. The Jewelry Exchange has diamond pendants $99, diamond clusters $249 per carat, 5-carat diamond tennis bracelets $8.99, 1-carat studs and solitaires $2.99. Great service, selection, and prices. Factory direct. The Jewelry Exchange.
Spring. Things out here have gotten a little too comfortable. It's time to run it. Run it until the grass becomes a lawn. Until the hedges duck for cover. Then run it again. Right now, save $30 on select trimmers. Steel.
All right, yesterday, obviously, we described in detail Obama's $850 million concrete disaster of a presidential center, not a library. But of course, the liberals and the legacy media, they're like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, the grand opening ceremony.
So in some ways, this was like church for liberals. It was. Everybody was dressed in their Sunday finest and sitting in the pews. And he was delivering a message about, not just about that, but also actually, there was a lot of contrast happening about Trump.
Church for liberals. Perfect. Host of podcast Scrolling with Hayley, Caronia, and senior research analyst for the Media Research Center, Bill D'Agostino. I mean, Hayley, that is actually what I'm going to call it from now on, church for liberals.
I mean, this is actually pretty crazy if you think about it. You know, as a Christian woman, I know that even liberals, yes, even liberals, they are my brothers and sisters in Christ. There are liberals who are Christians. It is very strange that the Democrats think that Christianity is just this thing of the alt-right. And they do this too with America. They do this with the American flag. They do this with July 4th. They do this with the 250th anniversary birthday of our country. They think that these things that should be for all of us are just for the right. And I think it's very divisive, don't you?
Well, yeah, everything they do is divisive pretty much. But Bill, speaking of the Obama Center grand opening, Tom Hanks, this guy, like, I was a big fan of him in Forrest Gump. Not so much recently, but roll this.
What can I do for the 800 people
Jacob Soboroff.
MS Now?
We're live on MS Now.
All right, add a zero to it if you need to.
I would say millions now that you're on our air.
All right.
I mean, he's still there, kissing the ring.
Yeah. Although I gotta say, I liked him more than I did 10 seconds before I saw that clip the first time I saw it. He's not entirely wrong, right? I mean, the viewership of MS Now is declining rapidly. CNN, same deal. I mean, the left-wing cable news networks in general are kind of getting hammered by the internet existing, right? Because their 24-hour news cycle model is pretty much outdated, and they're carbon copies of each other. But as you point out, yeah, I mean, Tom is still there, right? He's still going to quote unquote liberal church. And I thought Hayley made a good point there. That was basically Abby Phillips seeding the idea that, okay, there's liberals and then there's Christians. So she's just given up on Christianity ever belonging to anybody on the left, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it does put him up a notch in my book, so that puts him at notch 1. All right, Hunter Biden is one of those libs still losing their minds over the UFC event, Hayley. He was writing on like this whole novel on X. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but he said the White House belongs to all of us. All of us. The one person who sits behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office is nothing more than an honored guest, a temporary caretaker. The president is our servant, not our Caesar. Yeah. So now he wants a cage match with Don Jr. over it because he's broke and he needs the money from like pay-per-view. Hayley.
Oh my goodness. If it's not king, it's not Nazi, it's not emperor, it's Caesar. I mean, when are the Democrats going to get it through their thick skulls that Donald Trump is the duly elected president of the United States? The American people put him in that Oval Office behind the resolute desk. So I don't know when they're going to figure that out. Probably never. We're already, a year and a half into Trump's presidency, 2 years into Trump's presidency. They're never going to get it. As for the cage match, I hope that Don Jr. doesn't even give this the time of day. It's an asinine request. And does Hunter Biden know that there would have to be a drug test required to make that a fair fight?
Hey, you know what? I tell you what, Hunter, you don't even have to take a drug test. I'll stand in and I'll do it. We'll go from there. All right, Bill. New Hampshire's trans Democrat darling. This is Stacey Marie Loughton. Yes, that thing. Elected 3 times as a state representative, just got 33 years in prison for sexually exploiting 3 to 5-year-olds. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's always the ones you most expect, right? I mean, this is yet another case of the left hitching their wagon to somebody who frustrates the right and therefore, oh, this is the best person ever. And it turns out that the reason the right's frustrated with this person is because they're a lunatic, right? I mean, it needs to be addressed at some point, the fact that there is a colossal crossover. It's almost like the Venn diagram is almost like a perfect circle between pedophilia and transgender ideology, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I would have expected this guy was going to end up doing in 5 years, right, when I first heard about him. But at some point, somebody needs to address it.
Yeah, but Hayley, like, we're called crazy if we think like, hey, if you pretend to be a different gender and you actually believe that, there might be something wrong with you.
Yeah, they're mentally ill. And this is exactly what the Democrats do. They're so committed to their DEI check boxes that they will elect just about anyone. A Nazi, they'll elect people with Nazi tattoos, they'll elect pedophiles. It's all to check that box.
Yeah, no, it is. Bill, real quick, the left's ongoing crusade to separate vulnerable children from, their parents' influence. California is pushing a bill that would allow kids to divorce their parents. And I'm thinking, like, look, I love my kids to death, but if they wanted to divorce me, I'd be like, all right, guys, you're on your own. Go figure it out.
I mean, unfortunately, this is that's basically exactly what they want. They want to create new janissaries for the Democratic Party. They want to create radicalized activists who are completely separated from the nuclear family that's supposed to protect them from this kind of nonsense. And it's definitely not a coincidence that they're floating a bill like this at the same time that all of the trans garbage is suffering the biggest PR disaster it ever has in America, right? And thanks in no small part to, I forget that fellow's name, but he's probably going to have a new name in prison, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the former state rep, you mean?
Yeah.
All right, Hayley, Bill, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, coming up, the cost of new homes continue to soar as housing affordability remains a huge challenge for especially young Americans. What could be driving up the price and how to combat it? I'll tell you next.
Average price for a gallon of gas? $4.43.
That's extortion.
Price for Paramount Plus? 99 cents per month for the first 2 months.
That sounds like a good deal.
You ready?
I love it.
Lots of other prices may be crazy, but ours is not.
It's my home.
The Paramount Plus summer sale, just 99 cents per month for the first 2 months.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528. Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-357-9528 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consult are absolutely free. Call 800-357-9528. That's 800-357-9528.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. So Nobella changed that.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit total body transformation.
I decided to give Sonobello a try. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is our breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative that sculpts, tightens, and lifts your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside. And Lift EX is exclusively available at Sonobello. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever. Call to book your free consultation today.
All right, we talked about this the other day, the cost of home ownership and one of the major drivers of inflation recently. Over the last 40 years, housing has become virtually unobtainable for people because wages have not kept up with the price of homes. And sure, our dollar is worth 30% less just in the last 6 years. So that's one reason a 2x4 is 30% more expensive. But the same people who created that inflation have also added an additional 25 to 30% cost just in regulations. Yes, the government regulations have added $132,000 to the average home price. By the way, this is up from $93,000 in 2021. That is a 40% increase to the G-Man for nothing. Just numerically, let's break this down. The average home sale in America is $514,000. If you put zero down, just we're using round numbers here, 6% interest, PMI insurance, everything like that. Soup to nuts, you're paying for that house $3,670.86 a month in payments. If you make $100,000 a year, that's more than half your monthly take home just to live in the average house. But if you remove that $132,000 in government compliance costs and just go with the actual cost of what the home should be, $382,000. And that drops that same mortgage, you can see it right there, down to $2,824.41. That's an $864.41 monthly savings. $10,000 a year savings. How many people would like to see that? I sure would. I don't think the government's earned that. And if you're like me, you're probably wondering why the property that I'm already paying property taxes on is getting further taxed to build an item I will also have an increased tax on, paid for by the money that is already taxed. Now you see why I hate the government so much. There is no reason for this other than we have allowed these people to do this. They, the bureaucrats, they just create stuff to levy fees, and it's stupid. Should be illegal. We used to have tar and feathering for this stuff. Let's check out some of this stuff. Much of it is permits and allocations of resources that cost you money or loss of asset use. Building code changes in the past 10 years will cost you about $40,000 more in compliance. Permit, inspection, and hookup fees, another $20,000 additional dollars. Architectural design standards, another $16,000. That's $16,000 more expensive. Yeah, you need a certificate of like some architect to draw you a design that you could now either buy on the internet for like $3, draw yourself, or even have AI draw it for you. I just had one of these done to remodel a bathroom. It cost me $10,000 to have some guy doodle up a bathroom. This goes on to more things too. Land dedicated to government or left unbuilt for compliance, $13,593 for the average house, okay? Sometimes you have like X amount of acreage left over to build X amount of house. This is called the FAR in most circumstances. So you lose access to that property, basically. There's some other compliance fees and requirements and studies, and that's another almost $11,000. You got perk tests and wetlands things. My house is on a hill, 100 feet of vertical feet above water. They're like, we got to check if this is wet. It's not wetlands, bro. If you want something that bureaucrats deem different, there's a fee on the average house for that, right around $10,000. Don't forget, on the property you own that you paid for and you are paying taxes on, you have zoning approval costs. You got to get approved to build your house on your property. That costs you an additional $7,000. You're working above 6-7 feet, or your contractor is. Don't forget about OSHA, labor compliance. By the way, you can't go buy a rock climbing harness that's approved to hang you 1,000 feet up on a cliff. No, you can't use that. You need a super special OSHA approved harness made of the exact same material, but probably less comfortable, that costs 5 times as much because of the OSHA stamp. Probably still made in China. Little stuff like that adds up on average to another $7,000 per house. Also, there's OSHA and labor compliance things like posters on the work site, and you need to have an eye wash station and all this weird stuff. Tallies up to another $2,300. Don't forget that you need to request permission from the government to get them to come out and inspect the things that they mandate you to do. And sometimes they take their sweet time to get there. So that costs the average house construction about $2,500 in waiting time. You got construction phase, that's about another $1,600 in that. It's unbelievable. $131,734 extra dollars. This happened because 2 reasons. 1, we let it happen by not throwing these people out of office. And 2, because no one knows how to build stuff anymore. We outsource absolutely everything. And the easiest thing for government to do is tax business transactions through regulation. So they did. Learn how to build your own stuff, people. Everything's on YouTube right now. You can go there, figure out. I learned how to do this. I built my own house by just using YouTube. I got the stamps and things. Cost me under $100,000 to build a 2,900 square foot house. You can do it too. Oh, all right, before we go, Biden hits the stage with its immediate, and I mean, he is immediately lost on that thing, while the Obamas and Joe Biden just deuces. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
Hey, I'm Dr. Drupinski. I've been looking at the aging process for a long time. Fatty 15 actually slows it down. Fatty 15 comes out of Navy dolphin research. Without the C15, our cells become fragile and age and oxidize. This pushes that back. That's why I take Fatty 15.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values, Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Are you ready to save big this summer?
Doesn't everybody want to save money?
The Consumer Cellular Summer Switch event is finally here. You could cut up to 50% off your big wireless bill. And right now, save an extra $50 off with code SAVE50.
Go save some money. It's just a great deal.
You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage you get from big wireless for up to 50% off.
Same tower, same coverage.
I'm getting big wireless coverage without the big wireless price tag. Big cities, small cities, rural areas, rock solid.
Now is the best time to switch all year during the Consumer Cellular Summer Switch event. You could cut up to 50% off your big wireless bill. And right now, save an extra $50 off with code SAVE50.
I switched to save money. I stayed because I love Consumer Cellular.
Consumer Cellular customers ranked us #1 in network coverage satisfaction.
The customer service is amazing.
You get a person right away, and it's inexpensive, too.
Yes.
Get unlimited for just $35 a month for one line.
I got the benefits of ARP and the quality service from Consumer Cellular, so what a happy marriage. It's just a great deal.
You can keep your number, you can keep your phone.
Or get a new one. We've got all the latest phones. You can talk with a U.S.-based sales rep in about 15 seconds.
That phone call reduced my bill by almost 50%.
I'm saving about $50 a month.
The switch process was incredibly easy.
Touch a button, and that was it. I was switched.
Save money. Save money. Make the switch.
The Summer Switch event is the perfect time to make the switch. You could cut your bill by up to 50% and call right now to save an extra $50 off with code SAVE50. And AARP members save even more. So call now and save big during the Consumer Cellular Summer Switch event. Call 1-800-649-1326. That's 1-800-649-1326.
Don't you miss Biden's presidency? Not actually for the presidency, but because of what it brought us. Like, he brought us inflation that was like 9.1%, highest in, 40 years. Open borders, little importation of criminal aliens, rapists, murderers, drug dealers. His version of national security and foreign policy was basically giving billions to Ukraine. Let's not forget the police state that he tried to impose on us during COVID. I don't miss any of that stuff, but I do miss moments like this. It's like, he forgot he wasn't president anymore. And don't worry, he was just looking for his granddaughter, apparently. And Dr. Joe Biden, she was like, bye, like, see you later. Remember when they tried to tell us that this man wasn't, like, going through some sort of cognitive decline? I sure do. But hey, at least we got moments of Sleepy Joe looking extra confused. Like, his whole time in office. It never gets old. And just every once in a while, I hope he does a public event just like this. And the Democrat friends, they come back and they're like, oh, this is fine or whatever. Barack Hussein puts out a tweet, though. And it says, to George and Laura, Bill and Hillary, we're grateful for your friendship, counsel, and devotion to this country, and to Joe and Jill. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Yeah, just, you know what, Bob? Just Joe, thanks. Get out.
Joe Biden is the sharpest I've ever seen him. He's the best.
He just did a backflip.
Best version I've ever seen of Joe Biden.
Just did a backflip.
He was senile.
He was.
I'm telling you, God rest her soul, my grandmother had a mental illness before she passed away. I saw so many similarities. I'm like, there's nobody paying attention here.
Well, they're paying attention. They just didn't want us to.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. Cool. I'm going to play that clip, too.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Yeah. People just stick around if you want to get the
It's in the opening mono.
Oh, hell
All right.
yeah.
Have a good weekend, man.
Word.
All right.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.